The Dred Scott Decision of the 1800s by Joy, Kaya, Allison, and Madhu. The case. Between 1834 and 1838, John Emerson, the master, with his slave Dred Scott, had a series of moves. He moved to Illinois, which was a free state, and later to the Wisconsin Territory, both above the Missouri Compromise line. He then returned to Illinois, and John died shortly after. Dred Scott repeatedly tried to buy his freedom but was refused. This was eventually taken to the Supreme Court. Dred Scott v. Sandford, 1857. This case was one of the most controversial Supreme Court cases. This case was based on three major arguments. 1. Once Dred Scott was brought to Illinois, he became a free slave, and he could not become a slave again once returned to Missouri. 2. The Missouri Compromise line stated that anything north of the line was free territory, and by Scott living there, he became free, and Missouri should recognize his freedom. 3. The Supreme Court had the authority to hear cases of federal courts from Article 3, Section 2 of the Constitution. Dred Scott lost from a 7-2 vote in the Supreme Court, and the court ruled against the three arguments. This case also proved that the Missouri Compromise was unconstitutional and not followed. Chief Justice Roger Brooke Taney wrote, explaining the court's decision for overturning the case. Against number 1. When returning to Missouri, Scott had lost whatever claim to freedom. His status depended entirely on local law. 2. Scott had never been free because the Missouri Compromise was unconstitutional. Congress does not have the power to forbid or abolish slavery in territories, because it would deprive men, like Emerson, of their property for simply entering federal territories. 3. Missouri did not allow African Americans to be citizens. Slaves were considered property. Therefore, they did not have the right to sue in federal court. Conclusion. The Dred Scott decision led to many events, eventually dividing the country further apart, sparking the Lincoln-Douglas debates and a civil war.